Hi, this is Anil from Learning Lad and welcome to another video on the C programming video series for beginners. In this video, we will talk about how we can take the user input using the keyboard in C programming language. Now, in the previous tutorials, we have learned about this printf function, which stands for print formatted. By using this, we can display the text on the standard output, which is the terminal or the console. Now here, in order to use this printf function, we have to include this stdio.h header file. Now here what I have done is I have created a variable of type integer and I have called this variable as number and I have stored this value in this, and then we are using this printf function and displaying the value present in this number variable. Now if I save this program and if I run this, then in the terminal we can see the output that is displayed, which is the value of this number variable. Now using this printf function, we can display text in a formatted way on the standard output. Now what about the input? How we can take the input in C programming language? In C language, in order to take the input from the standard input, which is generally the keyboard, we have a function available, and this function is called as scanf. This scanf stands for scan formatted. Just like the way printf stands for print formatted, this is scan formatted. By using this, we can read the values in a formatted way from the standard input. In order to use this function, we have to include this stdio.h header file. This printf, scanf, all these functions prototypes are defined in this stdio.h. So when we include this stdio.h header file to our program, these functions will be available for us to use in our program. Now, in order to use this scanf function, we have to write the function name, which is scanf, and then first we have to specify in what format the value will be provided. So here we have to specify the format, and after that we have to say where the values read from the standard input should be stored. We have to provide that later. So here first we will provide the format in which the input will be given, and then we will specify the location where the read values should be stored. The scanf function scans the user input in the specific format that we have provided, and it stores the values in the locations where we mention. Now here what we are doing in our program is we are displaying the value of this number variable using this printf function. Now what if I want to read a value from the user and I want to store it in this number variable? How we can do that? Now before continuing, I will insert a new line to this printf function. Now in this scanf function, first we have to mention in what format the value will be provided. Now here from the keyboard, we will provide an integer value. Now in order to say scan for an integer value, we have to specify the format specifier %d. Just like the way in order to display an integer value on the screen, we use the format specifier %d with printf. Similarly, with the scanf, in order to read an integer value, we use the format specifier %d. Now when I say integer here, we are talking about the signed integer. Now in the previous tutorials, we have talked about different format specifiers. Depending on the value that you want to read from the standard input, you have to use the proper format specifier. Now here, the next thing that we have to do is where we want to store this value. In this example, we want to store the value in this number variable. So here, with this scanf function, we have to provide the address of the variable where we want to store the value. In this case, we want to store the value in this number variable, and that's why we use this ampersand symbol, also called as the address of operator. So here when we use this address of operator with a variable, it provides the memory address of that variable. And with the scanf function, we have to provide the variable's memory address. Now, why we have to provide the memory address here, and why not just the variable name, just like the way we use it with the printf function? You will learn about that later in the video series when we talk about functions, pass by value, pass by reference, etc. So here, just remember that with this scanf function, if you want to store a value in a variable, you have to provide the address of the variable. Now, the next thing that I do is, after taking the input from the user, we will just display it on the screen. So I will copy this previous printf statement and I will paste it in here after taking the input. And now if I save this program and if I run this, what happens? Now in the terminal, first it will display 50. That is the value of this number variable, which is printed because of this printf statement, which is present at line number 6. Now after that, we have this scanf function here, and it is waiting for me to enter the number to provide the value using the keyboard. So here I will provide the value. For example, I will say 75. And after providing the value, I will hit the enter key in the keyboard. And now you guys can see it displays 75. That is because of this printf statement, which is present at line number 10, which will just display the value present in this number variable. Now here, what has happened is, initially the number variable was containing 50, and after taking the input from the user, the number variable is containing 75. So what this scanf function has done is, it scanned for an integer value from the keyboard, and it has stored that value in this number variable. Now, one thing that you can see here is, when we use this printf function and when we refer this number variable, we are not changing the value of this number variable. But with the scanf function, whatever the value present in this number variable will be changed. So initially it was containing 50, and from the keyboard, when I entered 75, the number variable contains 75. Now, important thing here is, with this scanf function, we have to specify the exact format in which the input will be provided. We will discuss more about this in the next video, but remember that here the format specifier that we use, and whatever the format we specify here, in that particular format only the input should be given. Now, what this scanf function returns? The scanf function returns the number of values it has successfully scanned or read from the standard input. Again, we will discuss about that in a separate video. Now here we are reading an integer value. What if we want to read a value of type float? For that, I will change the data type of this number variable, and I will store, let us say 50.25, and since it is a value of type float, I will use the f character here and make sure that this value is interpreted as float type. And then we are using this printf function to display the value of this number variable, which is of type float. So the format specifier has to be %f. Now what we want to do, we want to read the value from the user and we want to store it in this number variable, and this time we will read a value of type float, and that's why I have to specify the proper format specifier, which should be %f. And after that, again we are displaying the value of this number variable, so here the format specifier will be %f. Now here, when displaying the value, let us make sure that the value is displayed with 2 decimal digits. So I will use %.2f. Now if I save this program and if I run this, now initially it is displaying the value of this number variable, which is 50.25. Now it is waiting for me to enter the value from the keyboard. So I have to enter a value of type float. I will enter 32.15, and after providing the value, I will press the enter key in my keyboard, And now you guys can see it displays the value of the number variable, which is 32.15. Now similarly, what if we want to read a value of type double? So here I will change the data type of this number variable. I will make it double, and we will store 50.25 in this variable. Since the value that we are displaying using this printf function is of double, we use the format specifier %lf. Now when we read the value of type double using the scanf function, we have to use the proper format specifier, which is %lf, and then again we are displaying the value. So here also we will use the format specifier %lf. Now I will save this program and I will run this. Again, it displays the value of this variable number. It is waiting for me to enter the value using my keyboard. I will enter 85.21. If I hit the enter key in my keyboard, the value is displayed again on the screen. Now one more time I will say, whatever the format in which the input will be provided, you have to mention that properly. So whatever the type of value you are reading, you have to use the proper format specifier. If you are reading a value of unsigned integer, then you should use a format specifier which is used for unsigned integers. So it should be proper. Now finally in this video, we will see how we can read a character value from the user. So here I will create a variable of type char. I will call it as letter, and this time I will store a value of capital A in this variable. Now with the printf function, we will display the value. The format specifier will be %c, and here we will refer the letter variable. Okay, and after that, using this scanf function, we will read the value of type character. So the format specifier should be %c, and when displaying the value, again the format specifier should be %c. Again, make sure that with the printf function, we are not providing the address of the variable, but with the scanf function, we should provide the address of the variable. Now I will save this program. I will run this. Now here it is displaying the value of this letter variable in this printf statement, which is present at line number 6. And it is waiting for me to enter a character using my keyboard. I will enter, let us say, lowercase z, and then I will hit the enter key in my keyboard. Again, it will display that value that we have entered. Now experiment with this code. Try to read different types of values. If you make any mistakes, post that in the comment section. I'll try to help. So this is it guys for this particular video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. If you have anything to say, write that in the comment box. For more tutorials, subscribe to the channel.